Just today, a cleansing ceremony was held in Grayston at the site of the Grayston bridge collapse in Sandton. I'm joined on the line by Elna Schutz. She's from the Wits Radio Academy, and she's going to speak to us about this week's episode of The Science Inside that focuses specifically on that bridge collapse. Elna, it couldn't have been an easy story. We know 2 people lost their lives in that horrible incident. Introduce us to the topic.
Yes, it really was a tragedy, and we wanted to be very an insinuation about what happened there. We are obviously very sad about the people that lost their lives or got injured, but what we did want to do was just answer some of the questions that the collapse brought up in terms of how we build bridges, how they get investigated and checked, and what we do in that kind of crisis. So that's really the kind of questions we wanted to answer.
So you started out by looking at the logistics of bridge building. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we spoke to a bunch of structural engineers about all the things that you have to take into consideration, from the environment to who's going to be using the bridge, who might be using the bridge that you haven't planned for. And we really got into the process of who is responsible and all the things that can go wrong, not just those kind of things, but then we really got into the process of who is responsible and all the things that can go wrong, not just for a bridge, but structures of any kind. And I think many people like you and me might automatically look to the design of the bridge, but it can be so many things, from the welder to the specific formulation of the concrete to various other things. So these kind of investigations do take a long while, and people just want to be sure that they have a relatively good idea of what the problem was. Obviously also to be sure for the future.
Now, all of this happened, the bridge collapse happened during Sandton's Eco-Mobility Festival, as local government tried to encourage people to use more public transport and leave their cars at home. And it's so interesting because you look at this issue quite specifically. You went to Stellenbosch to do this.
There's a smart mobility lab in Stellenbosch that looks at traffic in our modern cities and how it gets monitored. Now, I'm sure if you use the highway like I do, you're very familiar with those little cameras alongside the road. And what they do partly is actually collect a lot of information from where people are, and that's how they know so quickly where problems are. They can put it on those signs that you sometimes see. And also the interesting thing that I didn't know is that sometimes they tap into various devices such as your phone or your GPS to see where that device is, and thereby know if there's traffic jam and so on. Don't worry, they're not hacking into your information. They're just using your location. And so we really had a look at how you can better divert traffic and just deal with the large volumes that, to be honest, our roads weren't built for.
That is absolutely fascinating. I had no idea about the GPS location.
Yeah.
Now, finally, we know that, of course, nobody wants these tragedies to happen, but they do. And thank heavens for EMS personnel and emergency responders who are quick to the scene. Tell us a little bit about that last part of the show where you actually speak to some of these emergency responders.
Yes, the last interview on the show is with somebody from ER24 that will really give you an insight into what they do when they get to that kind of scene where so much is happening at the same time, what their protocol is in terms of helping people the best way they can on site. But we also go a little bit into their experiences in terms of just dealing with the trauma and the just overwhelming nature of the job. So that's all on the show list.
That's all on this week's episode of The Science Inside. Elna, how can we interact with you on Facebook if our viewers have any questions or want to find out more?
It really is as simple as our name. It's The Science Inside. And if you use that, you can find us everywhere from iTunes, SoundCloud, Facebook, everywhere. And we're also on journalism.co.
Elna, thank you so much for speaking to us today, and we'll catch up again next week.